The alarm rings before the sun has even lifted its face to the sky. A tired hand reaches out, fumbling to silence the shrill sound. For a brief moment, there is silence again. But the peace does not last. A phone lights up with a flood of unread emails, reminders, breaking news alerts, and social media notifications. Before a single step is taken out of bed, the weight of the day has already pressed down like a heavy stone dot. This is the modern rhythm of life. Work deadlines, bills waiting in the mailbox, family responsibilities, the unpredictable traffic, and the background hum of worry about money, health, and the future. Many of us wake up each morning already tired, as if we never truly rested in the first place. The cycle continues. Wake, rush, work, spend, collapse into bed, then wake again. It feels endless, like running on a treadmill that never slows down. But beneath all this busyness, there is something deeper. A quiet ache that lives in the heart of every person. We taste moments of joy laughter with a friend, the sweetness of a child's smile, the warmth of a sunny afternoon, and yet even in those moments, a shadow lingers. We know it will not last. A friend moves away. The child grows up. The sunny afternoon fades into night. Every high moment carries within it the seed of its own ending. This is the unbearable lightness of being. Life moves, shifts, and changes in ways we cannot hold still. And yet, we try. We try so hard. We frame photos. We save money. We write plans. We lock doors. We tighten our grip on everything we can, believing that if we just hold on tightly enough, we can make things stay. But no matter how strong our grasp, life slips through our fingers like water dot for many. This brings frustration, even despair. We ask, why does everything I love feel so fragile? Why can't I keep what makes me happy? Why does everything seem to fade? These questions do not live in textbooks. They live in our daily lives, in the quiet tears shed at night when no one else is watching. And so we exhaust ourselves. We believe peace will come if only we can fix the outside world, if the job becomes secure, if the relationship lasts forever, if the body never grows old. But even when one thing is fixed, another problem appears. The river of life never stops flowing, yet we keep trying to turn it into a rock, unmoving, unchanging. The harder we fight, the more tired we become. Imagine standing on the shore of a river, trying with all your strength to push the water back upstream. It is hopeless. It is exhausting. And yet, this is what most of us do every single day. We try to stop time. We try to resist change. We live in battle with the very nature of existence. But here is the truth, simple yet difficult to accept. Everything changes because everything is alive. The constant flow, the rise and fall, the beginnings and endings. This is not a mistake in life's design. It is life's design. Flowers bloom and they wither. Children are born and they grow old. Seasons turn and return again. Nothing stays, and because nothing stays, every moment becomes precious. When we begin to see this clearly, something shifts inside us. Instead of clinging desperately, we soften. Instead of fearing change, we start to notice the beauty in impermanence. Like the cherry blossoms in spring, breathtaking precisely because we know they will not last. Our moments shine brighter when we stop trying to trap them. This realization does not remove our pain, but it transforms it. We no longer see change as an enemy, but as the very rhythm that makes life alive. It is like learning to dance with the music instead of demanding that the song never end. The song will end, yes, but in the meantime, there is still music to be heard, steps to be taken, joy to be felt. And here, at the very heart of impermanence, a door begins to open. A door not into despair, but into freedom. For if nothing lasts, then neither does our suffering. The bad day will pass. The heartbreak will soften. The storm will clear. Life, in its endless motion, carries even our pain away with the current dot. Think about the first time you held something you truly loved. Maybe it was the keys to your first car. Maybe it was the hand of someone who made your heart race. Or maybe it was the birth of your child, their small body wrapped in a blanket, breathing softly against your chest. In that instant, your heart whispered, "I want this moment to last forever," but it didn't. The car grew old and broke down. The hand you once held may have let go. The child grew up and stepped out into their own life. None of this is wrong. None of this means you should not have loved them. It only means life is doing what life always does, moving forward, changing, transforming. Yet inside us, there is resistance. We imagine a version of reality where joy does not fade, where health never declines, where loved ones never leave. And when reality does not match this imagined version, we suffer. It is not the change itself that hurts the most. It is our refusal to accept it. In Buddhist teaching, this resistance is called dukkha, often translated as suffering. But a better way to understand it is friction, the grinding tension between what is and what we want it to be. Like a wheel that will not turn smoothly because something is stuck inside it. Our lives begin to creak and ache when we demand permanence in a world built on impermanence. You can see this friction everywhere. The woman staring at her reflection, wishing her skin looked like it did 10 years ago. The man sitting at his desk, remembering the days when work felt exciting instead of draining. The couple arguing late at night, each blaming the other for not being the same person they once fell in love with. These are not personal failures. They are simply the echoes of our common human desire to freeze time. But imagine for a moment that you loosen your grip. Imagine that instead of clinging, you begin to hold life lightly, like holding a bird in your hands. If you squeeze too tightly, you harm it. If you hold it gently, it may still fly away. But in the meantime, you get to feel the softness of its feathers, the warmth of its small beating heart. This is the invitation of impermanence, to stop fighting against change and start noticing the tenderness it creates. Because what makes something precious is not that it lasts forever, but that it does not. A flower that blooms endlessly would no longer be beautiful. It is the briefness of its life that makes us stop, admire, and breathe it in. And here is the paradox. When we stop demanding permanence, we actually begin to experience life more fully. When you know the sunset will fade, you watch it with greater attention. When you know the child will grow, you treasure their laughter more deeply. When you know that even your own breath will not last forever, you inhale more consciously, grateful for the gift of this single moment. This shift in perspective is not easy. Our culture trains us to cling. Advertisements promise us forever, in a bottle, in a cream, in a bank account, in a relationship. The world shouts, hold on, don't let go, lock it in. And yet, beneath all the promises, we sense the truth. Nothing we buy, own, or achieve will escape the law of change. So, what if freedom does not come from locking life down, but from learning how to dance with its motion? What if true peace is not about stopping the river, but about learning how to float, how to swim, how to enjoy the cool water as it carries us forward? There is a story told of a man caught in a storm at sea. Waves rose higher and higher, threatening to drown him. At first, he fought against the water, thrashing, trying to climb on top of the waves. But the harder he fought, the more exhausted he became. Finally, when his strength was gone, he stopped resisting. He let his body float, carried by the same waves he had once feared. And in that surrender, he discovered what he could not see before. The sea was not his enemy. The sea was his support. This is the heart of impermanence. Life is not here to crush us. Change is not here to punish us. It is here to remind us that we are part of something larger than our small plans, something moving, living, breathing. When we stop fighting, we discover that we too can flow. So let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped gripping so tightly? What would happen if you allowed the people you love, the dreams you chase, even your own self, to be in motion? What if you trusted that even in loss, even in change, there could be a hidden gift? The truth is, impermanence is not only the source of our pain, it is also the source of our hope. For if nothing lasts, then your loneliness does not last. Your anger does not last. Your mistakes do not last. The night always becomes morning. The winter always becomes spring. Even the darkest chapter of your life will one day become a memory, softened by time. Asterisk impermanence is not a curse. It is the very reason healing is possible. And so, as we step further into this journey together, I invite you to breathe with me. Breathe in and feel the preciousness of this one breath, knowing it will never come again. Breathe out and let it go, knowing another breath will follow. Already, in this simple act, you are learning the secret. To live fully, you must let life move. The unbearable lightness of being is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Because when we accept that everything changes, we no longer waste our lives trying to build a cage around what cannot be contained. Instead, we begin to notice the miracle already here. The fleeting, fragile, luminous gift of this very moment. And this is where our path begins. There is an old story about a man running from danger. Behind him, a tiger gives chase. Ahead of him, a cliff drops into a deep canyon. Desperate, he grabs a vine and hangs between the two. Above, the tiger snarls. Below, sharp rocks wait. As he clings, he notices a drop of honey clinging to the vine. Instinctively, he stretches out his tongue, reaching for that single taste of sweetness, even as danger surrounds him. This story is ancient, yet it is also modern. It is us. It is our lives. Each day, we find ourselves reaching for the next drop of honey, hoping it will make everything feel okay. If only for a moment, we scroll through social media, waiting for another like to appear. We shop online, convinced that the next purchase will bring satisfaction. We eat when we are not hungry, drink when we are not thirsty, swipe through dating apps not because we seek love, but because we crave distraction. Always, there is the promise. Just one more drop, and then I'll feel complete. But it never lasts. The honey is sweet, yes, but it is only a momentary sweetness. The emails keep coming. The bills keep piling up. The loneliness returns as soon as the screen goes dark. And so we reach again, stretching for another drop, and another, until our arms grow tired and our hearts feel empty. This endless reaching is not unique to you or to me. It is a pattern that lives in all of us. We humans are built with longing stitched into our very bones. We dream of more money, more success, more recognition, more pleasure. And when we achieve one thing, we quickly set our eyes on the next. It is like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you walk, it always remains out of reach. Look around at the rhythm of modern life. The teenager checks their phone before bed, hoping for a new message that proves they are not forgotten. The parent stays late at work, believing that one more promotion will finally bring security. The retiree looks at their investments, worried that no amount will ever truly feel like enough. We are always running, always reaching, always waiting for the next drop to save us. But the truth is this: no drop can save us. Because the problem is not the honey itself, it is the illusion that one more taste will finally fill the emptiness inside. In Buddhist teaching, this pattern is called tanha, or craving. It is the restless desire that whispers, not enough, not yet, just a little more. Craving tells us happiness is always around the corner, never here, never now. And so we become trapped in a cycle, longing, reaching, tasting, feeling empty, longing again. The cycle spins, and we spin with it, too dizzy to notice that peace is never found this way. Think of the times when you got what you wanted. The job offer, the new phone, the person who said yes to a date. How long did the satisfaction last? A week? A month? Maybe less. And then, quietly, the hunger returned. This is the engine of discontent. It keeps us moving, but it never lets us arrive. It is like drinking salt water when thirsty. For a moment, it weights the tongue. But the more you drink, the thirstier you become. Craving is like that. It promises relief, but it deepens our longing instead. Yet here is the gentle truth. The problem is not that we enjoy sweetness. There is nothing wrong with savoring a good meal, enjoying music, or feeling the warmth of a hug. Pleasure is not the enemy. The enemy is the belief that pleasure will finally end our longing, that the next drop will seal the cracks in our heart once and for all. This is why we are restless. This is why so many of us feel exhausted even in comfort, lonely even in a crowd, unsatisfied even in success. We are not failing. We are simply caught in the illusion of the next drop. So what happens if, instead of reaching, we pause? What happens if, hanging between the tiger and the canyon, we notice not only the honey, but also the sky above, the air moving through our lungs, the very life that still pulses within us? What if the real treasure is not in the next thing we can grab, but in the simple miracle of being here, now? This is where the door begins to open. Not by rejecting pleasure, not by punishing ourselves, but by seeing clearly, by realizing that the next drop is not salvation, but only a taste, brief and passing. And once we see this, we can begin to step off the wheel of craving, even if only for a moment. And in that pause, that breath, something shifts. The emptiness begins to soften. A quiet space appears where longing used to roar. And in that quiet, perhaps for the first time, we feel what we were searching for all along. Enoughness. Let us return to that image of the man on the vine. Above him, the tiger waits. Below him, the canyon yawns open. He cannot climb up. He cannot climb down. His life hangs in the balance. And still, he reaches for the drop of honey. We smile at this story because it is absurd, but deep down, we recognize ourselves in it. We too are suspended between dangers, our past regrets chasing us from behind, our fears of the future waiting below. And in between, instead of facing the reality of our situation, we stretch out for distractions. Another episode to watch, another purchase to make, another glass to drink. We cling to these drops because they offer a momentary escape. And sometimes, that escape feels necessary. But if all we ever do is reach, and our whole life becomes nothing more than a desperate grasping, we never really live. We never really rest. The tragedy is not that life is short. The tragedy is that so much of it is spent waiting for the next thing. Waiting for Friday. Waiting for vacation. Waiting for love. Waiting for retirement. Always postponing, always hoping that the next chapter will finally deliver the happiness this one did not. But when we live this way, the present becomes nothing more than a waiting room. And the present is all we ever truly have. This is why the Buddha taught not only about craving, but also about its release. The end of craving is not about rejecting life. It is about waking up to what is already here. Instead of waiting for the next drop, we taste the fullness of this breath, this heartbeat, this ordinary moment. Have you ever sat quietly and noticed the way sunlight falls across a table? The way your chest rises and falls as you breathe? The way a bird pauses between wing beats, suspended in air? These are not grand achievements. They are not future promises. They are gifts right now, waiting to be seen. But the mind, restless and unsatisfied, rushes past them. It whispers, yes, but what's next? Always next. Never now. To break free from this illusion, we do not need to abandon life. We do not need to move to a cave, throw away our belongings, or reject every joy. What we need is awareness. The simple courage to pause, to notice, to taste life as it is, without demanding that it be more. Imagine eating a piece of fruit. If you rush, barely chewing, already thinking about your next meal, you miss the sweetness. But if you slow down, if you notice the fragrance, the texture, the burst of flavor, you find a richness that was always there, hidden beneath your hurry. This is how life works. It is not that joy is absent. It is that we are absent from joy. We are too busy chasing the next drop to notice the honey already on our lips. And so the practice becomes simple, though not always easy. Return to the present. Notice the craving as it rises, like a wave. Feel its pull without immediately obeying it. Let it crest, let it fall. Beneath it, you will find stillness. Beneath it, you will find freedom. In that freedom, a new kind of sweetness appears. Not the sharp, momentary sweetness of craving, but a deeper, steadier sweetness, a sweetness of contentment. This is the honey that does not run out, the honey of simply being. Of course, we will forget. Again and again, we will reach for the next drop. That is human. But each time we notice, we are offered another chance to wake up, to set the phone down, to take a slow breath, to smile at the life that is already here. And slowly, drop by drop, moment by moment, the cycle begins to break. The illusion fades, the hunger softens, and what remains is not emptiness, but fullness, not exhaustion, but peace. So I ask you now, what is the honey you keep reaching for? What sweetness do you believe will finally make you whole? And can you, just for a moment, set it down? Can you taste the wholeness that is already yours in this single breath? Because the greatest illusion of all is not that one more drop will save you. The greatest illusion is that you are incomplete without it. You are not. You have always been whole. And that is the truth craving tries to make us forget. There is a quiet fear that many of us carry, though we rarely speak it out loud. It is the fear of not knowing who we really are. Asterisk, from the time we are children, the world hands us labels like name tags at a crowded event. You are the smart one. You are the shy one. You are the athlete. You are the artist. You are successful. You are a failure. We collect these names and wear them as if they were our skin. Over time, we begin to believe them. We say, this is me. This is who I am. But what happens when the labels no longer fit? What happens when the athlete gets injured? When the successful one loses a job? When the beautiful one notices wrinkles in the mirror? Suddenly, the identity that once gave us pride becomes a prison. Instead of flowing with life, we feel trapped inside a story that is too small for who we truly are. This is why so many people, even those who seem outwardly successful, feel an inner emptiness. The doctor who no longer loves medicine, but feels she must continue because I am a doctor. The parent who has given everything to raising children, and when the children leave, whispers, "Who am I now?" The man who built his identity around being strong, only to face illness that leaves him weak. Each of these people suffers not only from circumstance, but from the belief that their worth is tied to a fixed image of self. And yet, when we look closely, this self we cling to is not solid at all. It is more like a river than a rock, always moving, always changing. Thoughts rise and fall like ripples on the surface. Emotions come and go like rain clouds drifting across the sky. Even the body is not the same from one day to the next. Cells die, cells are born, and slowly but surely we are renewed. This insight is at the heart of Buddhist teaching. It is called anatta, or not self. but do not mistake it for cold philosophy. It is not a denial of existence. It is an invitation to freedom, to see that the I we cling to is not a fixed object, but a living process. Think of a river. No drop of water ever stays the same, yet the river continues to flow. You cannot point to one molecule and say, "This is the river," and yet together, the movement makes something real, alive, and beautiful. So it is with us. We are not one fixed identity. We are movement. We are flow. When you understand this, something profound begins to shift. You realize that you are not condemned by your past mistakes, because you are not the same person who made them. You realize that your worth is not destroyed by failure, because you are not frozen in failure. You realize that the stories others tell about you are only passing shadows, not the whole truth of your being. This freedom is not abstract. It is deeply practical. Imagine a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they cry, they rise again. No one tells the child, "You are a failure because you fell." We understand that falling is part of walking. And yet, as adults, when we stumble, we condemn ourselves as if we are permanently broken. But if we are a river, if we are flow, then stumbling is just another step in motion. It does not define us. Think about your own life. How many times have you carried shame for something long past? How many times have you said, "This is just who I am," and used it as a cage? What if you could release that? What if you could see that every day, every breath, you are becoming new? There is a lightness that comes when we let go of the fixed self. We can try, fail, and try again without collapsing into despair. We can change careers, relationships, or directions in life without believing that we have betrayed some permanent essence. We can allow ourselves to grow, and perhaps most beautifully, we can allow others to grow too. If you see yourself as a river, you also see that the people you love are rivers. They will not always be who they were yesterday. They will make mistakes. They will change. And when you hold them gently, without demanding that they stay fixed in one image, love itself begins to flow more freely. This is the freedom of flow. It is the freedom to live without clinging to a rigid self, to embrace change not as loss, but as life. It is the courage to step into the river each day, knowing it will never be the same water, yet trusting that it is still, always, a river. So let me ask you, who would you be if you stopped trying to be someone? Who would you be if you let go of the labels, the stories, the weight of "I am this" or "I am not that"? Can you imagine the relief of not having to hold yourself together, of simply allowing yourself to move, to grow, to flow? Perhaps for the first time, you would feel what you truly are. Not a product, but a process. Not a cage, but a current. Not a fixed identity, but a living wonder. Let us pause for a moment and imagine a mirror. Each day you stand before it, and each day the reflection shifts. Some mornings you see a confident smile. Other mornings you see tired eyes or a face marked by worry. Which one is the real you? The truth is, none of them and all of them. You are not the image frozen in the glass. You are the living person who walks away, who laughs, who cries, who continues changing long after the reflection has disappeared. Yet so often, we confuse the reflection for reality. We confuse the story for the self. We tell ourselves, "I am anxious. I am broken. I am unworthy." But these are only thoughts passing like clouds. If you chase every cloud, you will never see the sky. The Buddha once described the self as a flame on a candle. Look closely. The flame is never the same from one moment to the next. It flickers, it shifts, it dances. And yet, we call it one flame. In the same way, we call ourselves me, even though every moment is fresh, unrepeatable, alive. When you begin to see yourself this way, shame begins to loosen its grip. That mistake you made years ago? It belongs to a version of you that no longer exists. The anger you carried yesterday? It does not define today. You are not bound to repeat the same story. You can choose again and again and again. This truth offers great freedom, but it also requires courage. Because to flow means to let go, to release the false safety of fixed identity, to stop clinging to the idea that you must always be the same. Consider the river again. It does not apologize for changing course. It does not cling to yesterday's shape. It simply moves, carving valleys, nourishing fields, finding its way to the sea. And no one looks at the river and says, "You are wrong for changing." We admire its strength, its adaptability, its life. What if we treated ourselves with the same compassion? What if we allowed our own path to bend, to widen, to narrow, to surprise us? Think of the countless people who have reinvented themselves when life demanded it. The teacher who became a writer, the soldier who became a gardener, the widow who discovered laughter again. None of them abandoned their true self. They discovered that their true self was never fixed in the first place. It was always moving, always becoming. And you, too, have this power. You are not trapped in the story others told you. You are not trapped in the story you once told yourself. You are not the mistakes, the achievements, the failures, the praise. You are the living movement underneath them all. This realization also transforms the way we relate to suffering. When pain arises, we often believe, "This is me. This is who I am now, broken, wounded, defeated." But suffering is not a permanent mark. It is a passing weather system. A storm moves across the sky, but the sky remains untouched. In the same way, grief, fear, and anger may move through you, but they do not define you. They are not the whole of you. Imagine the relief of knowing this. Imagine the courage it gives to face hard days, knowing they, too, are part of the river. That you will not be stuck forever. That even this, whatever this is for you right now, will pass. This is not denial. It is not pretending that pain is pleasant. It is remembering that pain is not permanent, that the story continues, that the river flows . And so the question becomes, will you fight the flow, exhausting yourself trying to stay fixed? Or will you learn to float, to trust, to let yourself be carried by the living current of life? To flow is not weakness. It is strength. It is the strength to be flexible when the world demands it. It is the strength to bend without breaking. It is the strength to remain alive, even when life pulls you in directions you did not expect. The freedom of flow is waiting for you, not in some distant future, but here, in this very breath. Notice how the breath comes and goes. You cannot hold it. You cannot keep it, but you can receive it fully, and you can let it go. This is life itself. This is you. So I invite you gently to release the heavy armor of fixed identity, to let go of the demand that you must always be the same, to see yourself not as a static object, but as a beautiful, changing process. You are not a stone trapped in the ground. You are a river. You are movement. You are flow. And when you embrace this truth, you will find a freedom greater than any label, any story, any mask could ever offer. You will find the freedom of simply being alive. Loneliness is one of the deepest wounds of our time. You can see it in the quiet apartment of a man eating dinner alone. The glow of the television, his only company. You can see it in the woman scrolling endlessly through her phone, surrounded by faces online, but feeling unseen in real life. You can see it in the crowded subway, where dozens of people stand shoulder to shoulder, each lost in their own world of headphones and screens, never looking up to meet another's eyes. Asterisk, never before in history have we been so connected, and yet so many feel so alone. This loneliness does not come only from being physically isolated. It is the loneliness of feeling separate. Separate from others, separate from the world, separate even from ourselves. It is the ache of believing that no one else could possibly understand our pain. Perhaps you have felt this yourself. The quiet thought at night, no one really knows me. No one really sees me. If I disappeared, would it even matter? These thoughts are heavy, and they feed the sense that we are cut off, like a single leaf drifting away from the tree. But here is the truth. Hidden beneath the illusion of separation, you are not alone. You have never been alone. Pause for a moment and take a breath. Where did that breath come from? From the trees, the plants, the forests of this earth. They release oxygen, and you receive it. And when you exhale, you give back carbon dioxide, which nourishes them in return. You are in relationship, even in this simple act of breathing. You are sustained by countless beings you may never meet. Think of the meal on your table. The rice, the bread, the fruit, the water. Each of these has its own story. The farmer who planted the seed, the rain cloud that watered the field, the soil rich with minerals from the bodies of long-forgotten plants and animals. When you eat, you are not consuming something separate. You are participating in an endless web of life that made this meal possible. Even your own body is not truly yours in the way you might imagine. It carries the DNA of your ancestors. It is built from the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe. Millions of microorganisms live inside you, working silently to keep you alive. You are not a separate, fixed unit. You are a community, a living ecosystem. This is what the Buddha taught through the story of Kissa Gotami. She was a mother whose child had died. In her grief, she went to the Buddha, begging for medicine to bring her child back to life. The Buddha told her, "Bring me a mustard seed from a household that has never known loss." She searched from house to house, but in every home, someone had died, someone had grieved. She returned empty-handed, and in that realization, she discovered a truth. Suffering is not hers alone. It is shared by all. This story is ancient, yet it speaks to the same loneliness we feel today. When we realize that our pain is part of the shared human experience, it softens the sharp edge of isolation. We no longer see our grief as a punishment, but as participation in what it means to be alive. The truth is, every smile you see hides a struggle. Every stranger you pass carries invisible burdens. Every heart beats with both joy and sorrow. When we understand this, compassion naturally arises. Not as a duty, not as something forced, but as a tender response to the recognition. You, too, have suffered. You, too, have hoped. You, too, are part of this fragile, beautiful web of life. And in that recognition, something shifts. Loneliness begins to loosen. We see that the wall between me and you is thinner than we imagined. That beneath our differences, race, class, language, belief, there beats the same human heart. So the next time you feel alone, remember this. Every breath ties you to the trees. Every meal ties you to the soil. Every heartbeat ties you to the billions of other hearts beating right now, in joy and in sorrow. Across the world, you are not separate. You are part of the shared heartbeat of existence. Imagine walking through a hospital late at night. Behind each door, someone is in pain. A child fighting fever. An elder struggling to breathe. A parent sitting awake, holding the hand of a loved one. If you pause to listen, you can almost hear it, a chorus of human hearts, beating through sorrow, fear, and fragile hope. Now imagine walking through a park on a bright spring morning. Children laugh as they chase each other. Dogs run freely, tails wagging. Friends sit together on the grass, sharing stories. Here too, the same heartbeat is present. It is joy instead of sorrow, laughter instead of tears, but it is part of the same shared human music. The illusion of separation dissolves when we look closely. Your grief is not yours alone. Your joy is not yours alone. Both are threads in a tapestry, so vast you could never trace all its patterns. And when you see this, something awakens inside you. Compassion is not pity. It is not looking down on someone else's pain. It is the recognition that their pain is also yours, that their story is also part of your own. When you see another person angry, you remember the times you too were lost in anger. When you see another person grieving, you feel the echo of your own losses. Compassion is not forced. It arises naturally when the walls of separation begin to fall. This is why judgment softens when we understand interconnection. The stranger who cuts you off in traffic is not just a rude driver. They may be late to pick up a sick child. The colleague who snaps at you may be carrying the weight of unspoken grief. The person who seems cold or distant may be fighting battles you cannot see. When you remember that everyone is carrying something, your heart opens instead of hardens. But compassion is not only for others. It must also flow toward yourself. Too often, we treat our own suffering as shameful, as if it proves we are weak or broken. Yet when you see that suffering is part of the shared human condition, you begin to realize it is not just me, it is all of us. And in that realization, self-criticism softens into self-kindness. There is a practice in Buddhism called looking deeply. It means that when we encounter something, a flower, a meal, even our own pain, we take the time to see all the conditions that gave rise to it. When you look deeply at your sadness, you see not only yourself, but generations of causes, family history, social pressures, the stresses of modern life. Your sadness is not a personal defect. It is a thread woven from many threads. And this understanding brings relief. Think of a single wave in the ocean. It rises, it falls, it disappears back into the sea. If the wave thought it was separate, it might fear its end. But the wave is never separate. It is water. It has always been water. Even when it rises and falls, it belongs to the vast, endless ocean. In the same way, you are not separate from life. You are not alone drifting. You are the ocean itself, taking the temporary form of a wave. You rise, you fall, you change, but you remain part of something infinite. When we live with this awareness, our relationships transform. We no longer look at others as strangers, but as fellow travelers in the same fragile, beautiful journey. We become gentler in our words, more patient in our actions, more generous with our presence. And in this generosity, the ache of loneliness begins to heal. Even in solitude, you are not truly alone. The earth holds you. The sky covers you. The breath moves through you. The ancestors walk behind you. The shared heartbeat of humanity continues within you. So the next time loneliness whispers, "You are separate, you do not belong," take a deep breath. Feel the air given by the trees. Place your hand over your chest and feel the rhythm of your heart, knowing it beats in time with billions of others. Let the illusion fall away, because the truth is simple and it is healing. You belong. You always have, and this belonging is not fragile. It does not depend on status, wealth, or recognition. It is woven into the fabric of existence itself. To be alive is already to be connected. To be human is already to be part of the shared heartbeat of the world. There is a strange paradox in modern life. On one side, people are driven to exhaustion. They work 60, 70 hours a week, chasing deadlines and climbing ladders that never seem to end. On the other side, people collapse into numbness, losing themselves in endless television, alcohol, or scrolling through their phones until sleep finally takes them. Two extremes, overdrive and shutdown. Neither brings peace. Consider the man who wakes before dawn to check his email, rushes through traffic, spends the entire day at the office, and returns home too tired to speak with his family. He tells himself he is building a better life, but each day feels emptier than the last. His body aches. His spirit is worn thin, and yet he cannot stop. He is trapped in the belief that more work will one day finally bring rest. Now consider the woman who has given up. Once she dreamed of writing, of creating, of living with passion. But now, overwhelmed by failure and disappointment, she numbs herself with distractions. Hours vanish into entertainment, but when the screen goes dark, the silence feels unbearable. She is not at peace. She is simply escaping. These two lives look different, but they are bound by the same suffering. The inability to find balance. One grasps too tightly, the other lets go completely. Both are caught in extremes. The Buddha saw this clearly. Before his awakening, he lived in both extremes. As a prince, he knew luxury and indulgence. Later, as an ascetic, he starved his body, denying himself every comfort. But neither extreme led to freedom. Neither brought lasting peace. And so he discovered another way, the middle way. The middle way is not about compromise. It is not about being lukewarm or avoiding passion. It is about finding the quiet center where wisdom lives. A place where you can act without being consumed, where you can rest without collapsing into despair. Imagine a farmer whose horse runs away. The neighbors cry, "What bad luck." The farmer only replies, "Maybe." Days later, the horse returns with 2 more horses. "What good fortune," the neighbors exclaim. Again, the farmer says, "Maybe." Later, the farmer's son tries to ride one of the new horses, falls, and breaks his leg. "What tragedy," the neighbors lament. Once more, the farmer answers, "Maybe." Soon after, soldiers come to the village, drafting young men into war. The farmer's son is spared because of his broken leg. The farmer does not cling to good or bad, fortune or misfortune. He stands in the quiet center, trusting that life is larger than his immediate judgment. How often do we do the opposite? A small setback arrives, and we declare, "My life is ruined." A small success arrives, and we cling to it desperately, terrified it will fade. We swing from despair to elation, and back again, like a pendulum with no rest. But what if we stepped into the center? What if, instead of labeling every event as disaster or blessing, we simply said, "Maybe"? What if we trusted that the story of our life is still unfolding, that we do not yet see the whole picture? This does not mean we stop caring. It does not mean we stop working or dreaming. It means we hold our plans lightly, like petals resting on the palm. We engage fully, but we do not chain our happiness to outcomes we cannot control. When you stand in the quiet center, you begin to notice something profound. Life keeps moving, whether you grasp or resist. Seasons change. Circumstances shift. The extremes tire you out, but the center gives strength. From the center, you can bend without breaking. You can move without losing yourself. Think of a tree in the wind. If it is too rigid, it snaps. If it is too weak, it collapses. But if it is rooted in the ground and flexible in its branches, it survives the storm. This is the wisdom of the quiet center. So let me ask you, where in your life are you swinging between extremes? Where are you grasping too tightly or giving up too completely? Can you imagine a way of standing more firmly in the middle, breathing more deeply, trusting more gently? The center is not far away. It is here, within you, waiting for your return. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a tightrope walker. One step too far to the left, and they fall. One step too far to the right, and they fall. The only way forward is balanced, steady, attentive, calm. In many ways, this is the image of our own lives. Every day, we are walking the rope between extremes. Too much indulgence, and we drown in craving. Too much denial, and we starve the spirit. Balance is the art of walking the rope with presence, but balance is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is a living practice. Just as the tightrope walker is always adjusting, leaning a little here, correcting a little there, so must we. Balance is not a frozen state. It is movement in harmony with life. Think about your own day. When stress builds, do you push yourself harder, past the point of exhaustion? Or do you collapse into avoidance, numbing your mind to escape? What would it look like instead to pause, breathe, and find the middle? Perhaps it means taking a walk instead of working another late hour. Perhaps it means sitting quietly instead of reaching for another distraction. Small choices, again and again, bring you back to the center. The center is not passive. It is not about drifting without direction. It is about engagement without attachment. When you stand in the middle, you still work, you still care, you still act, but you are not enslaved by results. You plant seeds, but you do not demand that they bloom according to your timetable. This is the wisdom of the farmer who understands seasons. He does not panic when winter comes, nor does he rush spring to arrive sooner. He works with the rhythm of the earth, trusting that his task is to plant, water, and tend. The rest is not in his control. This trust is the quiet strength of the Sudhardhat in Buddhism. This is called the middle way. It is a path of moderation, but not of mediocrity. It asks us to release the extremes that burn us out and to walk instead with clarity and compassion. It asks us to see that peace is not found in excess or in deprivation, but in awareness. Think of the breath. Inhaling too much, holding it in, brings suffocation. Exhaling too much, giving everything away, brings collapse. Life itself is the rhythm of balance. Inhale, exhale, give, receive. The wisdom of the center is already in your body, in every breath you take. When we begin to live from this center, our relationships change as well. We stop demanding that others always meet our needs, and we stop sacrificing ourselves completely for them. We learn the balance of giving and receiving, of listening and speaking, of holding and letting go. From this balance, love becomes steadier, less frantic, less fragile. Even in times of crisis, the center offers guidance. When misfortune strikes, the mind wants to swing into despair. This is terrible. This is the end. When success comes, the mind swings into attachment. This is everything. I must keep it forever. But the quiet center whispers, maybe the setback will open a new door. Maybe the success will bring new challenges. The story is still unfolding. The center does not rush to label. It waits, it watches, it trusts. This waiting is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the wisdom of knowing that life is vast, that the meaning of today's events cannot be fully seen until tomorrow. It is the patience of letting life reveal itself, instead of forcing it into our judgments. And so the practice becomes clear. When you feel yourself pulled toward extremes, pause. Return to the middle. Take one breath. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Ask yourself, am I clinging? Am I collapsing? Or am I standing steady in the center? The quiet center is not far away. It is not hidden in a distant monastery or reserved for saints. It is within you always. It is the still point beneath your rushing thoughts, the calm beneath your swinging moods. Like the eye of a storm, it is there even in chaos, waiting for you to step in. And when you do, you discover something surprising. The world does not demand that you be perfect. It only asks that you be present. It only asks that you walk the rope with attention, with compassion, with balance. This is the wisdom of the quiet center. It is the strength to live without being consumed. It is the peace of trusting that you can face life without swinging wildly between extremes. It is the gentle courage to stand where calm and clarity meet. And from this center, you are free. Picture yourself sitting in traffic on a gray Monday morning. The horns are blaring, a clock is ticking. Your mind is racing with thoughts and deadlines, bills, and half-finished conversations. Your chest feels tight. Your jaw clenches. Inside, it is not just traffic. It is a storm. A storm of worry, judgment, and restless thought. This storm follows us everywhere. It shows up when we lie awake at night, replaying old mistakes. It shows up when anger rises quickly in an argument, words spilling out before we can stop them. It shows up when anxiety grips the chest, when fear whispers of all the things that could go wrong. Most of us live as if we are trapped inside this storm. We believe every thought. We identify with every mood. When anger comes, we say, I am angry. When sadness comes, we say, I am broken. When anxiety comes, we say, this is who I am. And so we are tossed about, like leaves blown by the wind. But what if you are not the storm? What if you are something larger, something steadier, something unshaken? The Buddha offered an image for this. The sky. Thoughts, emotions, desires, these are clouds. Some are light and gentle. Some are heavy and dark. Some bring rain. Some bring thunder. But beneath them all, the sky remains. Vast, open, untouched. When you realize this, everything changes. You begin to see that anger may move through you, but it is not your essence. Fear may pass across your mind, but it does not define you. Grief may arrive deep and heavy, but still beneath it, there is a sky untouched. This awareness is not something you have to create. It is already here. Even now, as you listen, you are aware of thoughts, aware of sensations, aware of feelings. That awareness is the sky. Silent, spacious, unshakable dot. Imagine standing on a hill, looking at the horizon. Storm clouds gather. The rain falls. Lightning cracks the sky. But no matter how fierce the weather, you know the storm cannot destroy the sky. The sky is too vast. It holds everything without resistance, without fear. Your mind is like that. Beneath the noise, beneath the swirl of thoughts, there is a stillness that has never been touched by chaos. You may forget it. You may lose sight of it. But it is there, waiting like the blue sky behind the clouds. And here is the practice. To remember the sky. To return again and again to the stillness beneath the storm. Not by fighting the clouds, not by forcing them to disappear, but by recognizing them for what they are: temporary, passing, not the whole truth of who you are. This shift brings freedom, because when you identify with every passing thought, you are imprisoned. But when you step back into awareness, you discover space. You realize, I am not this thought. I am not this mood. I am the one who sees it. Try it now. Notice a thought in your mind. Maybe it is about something you must do later. Maybe it is about something that happened yesterday. See it clearly. Then ask yourself, am I this thought, or am I the awareness noticing it? In that moment, you touch the sky. This is not escape. It is not denial. It is the deepest kind of presence. For the sky does not reject the clouds. It does not push them away. It holds them all, allowing each to come and go in its time. You too can hold your inner storms with kindness, knowing they are part of the weather of being human, but not the essence of your being. And as you practice this, a new kind of peace begins to grow. A peace that is not dependent on everything going your way. A peace that remains even when the storm rages. A peace that is steady, like the unshakable sky. Think of the times when you felt overwhelmed, when anger boiled in your chest, when grief pressed down so heavily you could hardly breathe, when anxiety pulled your thoughts into a restless spin. In those moments, it feels impossible to believe that peace still exists anywhere inside you. The storm is so loud, so convincing, that you forget the sky. Asterisk, but forgetting does not mean the sky has vanished. Even when the sky is covered with thick clouds, it is still there. Blue, open, limitless. You cannot always see it, but it has never left. The same is true within you. Your awareness, your original clarity remains untouched, no matter what storms pass through. This is why meditation is sometimes described as coming home. It is not about becoming someone new. It is not about forcing the storm to stop. It is about returning to the place inside you that has always been still, spacious and whole. Imagine sitting quietly and noticing your breath. At first, the mind races, what do I need to do tomorrow? Why did I say that earlier? What if things go wrong? The clouds gather quickly. But if you simply sit, breathing, watching, something begins to shift. You start to notice the space between thoughts. You begin to sense the stillness beneath the noise. This stillness is not created by effort. It is uncovered, like the sky revealed when the clouds drift apart. From this place, even difficult emotions can be held differently. Instead of saying, I am angry, you say, anger is present. Instead of saying, I am broken, you say, sadness is moving through me. You stop identifying with the storm, and you start recognizing yourself as the sky that holds it. This subtle shift changes everything. Anger loses some of its grip. Fear loses some of its sharpness. Pain still hurts, but it no longer defines you. You realize, I am larger than this. I am more spacious than this. I can hold even this, and what a relief it is to know that you do not have to fix or control every cloud. You do not need to chase them away. You only need to remember. They will pass. The sky remains. This is the unshakable peace the Buddha spoke of. Not a peace dependent on silence or perfect conditions, but a peace that exists even in noise, even in chaos, even in grief. A peace that comes from knowing your true nature is vast and untouchable. Consider a diamond buried in the mud. Covered in dirt, it appears dull, forgotten. But the mud cannot destroy it. The diamond remains pure, clear, unbroken. So it is with your awareness. No storm of thought, no wave of emotion, no burden of suffering can stain its essence. The clarity is always there, waiting for you to remember. This truth is not only for monks or saints. It is for you here, in the middle of your ordinary life. When you are stuck in traffic, when you are lying awake at 2 a.m., when you are grieving a loss, or facing a fear, or feeling overwhelmed by the endless noise of modern life. In every moment, a sky is present, within you, above you, around you. So the practice is simple. Pause, breathe, notice the clouds without chasing them. Remember the sky, and with practice, this remembering grows stronger. You find that even when life is turbulent, you can rest in the stillness behind it. You discover that peace does not come from controlling the weather of your mind, but from trusting the vastness that holds it all. This is the gift of awareness. This is the unshakable sky, and once you know it, you can never be completely lost again. For even when the clouds return, as they always will, a part of you remembers, I am not the storm. I am the sky. As we come to the end of this journey, pause for a moment and notice what is present in you right now. Perhaps there is a sense of calm, perhaps curiosity, perhaps even a quiet ache that has accompanied you through every chapter. Whatever it is, let it be here. For the truth is that this too is part of life's unfolding, and this too belongs. We began together in the darkness of struggle and stress, loneliness, craving, the endless demands of a restless world. We walked through the illusions of permanence, through the traps of the next drop of honey, through the cages of identity and the walls of separation. We learned of the pendulum of extremes and of the storms that rise inside the mind. And now, standing here, we can begin to see that none of these struggles are evidence that something is wrong with us. They are evidence that we are alive. To suffer is to live, but to understand suffering is to begin to be free. Every pain point we explored was never meant to drown you. It was meant to open a doorway. Impermanence shows us that nothing lasts, and that is why each moment is precious, and why even our darkest days will one day soften into memory. Craving shows us that the endless chase will never satisfy, and yet by pausing in the present, we can taste a sweetness far deeper than any fleeting pleasure. Identity reminds us that we are not fixed, that we are rivers, not statues, and so we are free to grow, to stumble, to begin again. Loneliness teaches us that separation is only an illusion, and that every breath we take ties us to trees, to soil, to ancestors, to strangers whose hearts beat just like ours. Extremes remind us that neither indulgence nor denial will save us, but that balance, the quiet center, offers a way to stand steady in the storm. And finally, the mind's chaos reminds us that beneath every cloud of thought, there is still the unshakable sky of awareness, vast and untouchable. When we see all of this together, a new way of being begins to emerge. A way not built on running from pain or clinging to pleasure, but on meeting life as it is, moment by moment, with open eyes and open heart. This way is not about becoming perfect. It is about remembering. Remembering that you already carry within you the seeds of peace, the seeds of compassion, the seeds of freedom. The work is not to chase them, but to water them, to give them attention, patience, and care. Every breath can be a watering. Every step can be a return. Even now, listening to these words, you are already practicing. You are pausing. You are remembering. And this remembering is enough. The world outside may not change overnight. Bills will still come. Relationships will still challenge you. The body will still age. Losses will still arrive uninvited. But your relationship with these truths can change. Instead of seeing them as enemies, you can see them as teachers. Instead of fearing them, you can walk with them. And in walking with them, you discover that life itself is not against you. Life is offering you, again and again, an invitation to wake up, to open, to live fully in the precious, fleeting, luminous moment that is here right now. So take a breath. Feel the air enter. Feel the air leave. This is life moving through you. You do not need to hold it. You do not need to control it. You only need to receive it. And as you do, notice that in this simple act, you are free.